Hey everyone. I'll be starting in a few minutes. I'm okay with singing. I know. I know.
Phil and Ellie, I'm just letting you know it's 9.
Great, perfect. I know. I know. Hi everyone, and welcome to this Rosh Hashanah Birchot HaShachar, Pesuke, and Shacharit service. So, as you can tell, we're on Zoom. There are some people who may be here in person to receive honors, but other than that, everyone is going to be on Zoom. So a couple of things about what that means. Probably you've heard it all before, but just covering our bases. First of all, if your video is on, we can see you here in the sanctuary and we really appreciate it. But just do be aware that we can see you if your video is on as well. Shelly is here as our Zoom tech. We cannot see any chats or receive any communication directly unless we ask you to unmute yourself if you're participating. So keep that in mind if you need help. If there's an issue with the technology, Shelly Sadin is here to help. But also feel free to chat with each other. We want this to feel like a community. We want this to be as much as it can be like being in person and being able to say hi to your neighbor. So make sure to say hi to the people you are excited to see online, and we're so glad to have you. And again, for us here in the sanctuary, it's very helpful to see some faces. So if you can turn your video on, we will appreciate it. So let me think, another things. And we know it's hard. It's another year where we're not in person. It's another year where things aren't quite the way we expected it would be. But we're really happy to be here and to be celebrating this new year with you all and hoping for a better year this year. So Cantor Vera is not here. She is currently leading family services. My name is Ellie Prippus, or Ellie Sheva Prippus. I go by Ellie though, and I'm the rabbinic intern here. And I will be leading services here along with our Shaliach Tzibor, Phil Flatkow, who's been leading this service for, there's a debate about, it's at least 15 years. We know that it's at least 15 years. So yeah, we're so excited to have you here today. Before we get started, I'm going to quickly do a land acknowledgement of the land that we are currently standing on and where our temple is. Our land and our temple is located on the traditional lands and waterways of the Abenaki, Pennacook, and Wabanaki peoples, past and present. We honor and acknowledge with gratitude the land itself and the people who have stewarded it throughout the generations. So let's see. Before we get started, we're about to start with Birchot HaShachar, which is the morning blessings for all these everyday miracles. And one of my favorite things about this prayer, and I think it comes up in another prayer later too, is that some of these things are the glorious things that God does, about how God gives us life. But I also think that they're things that we can do for each other. So how can we, as people who are in partnership with God, how can we uplift the fallen? How can we heal the sick? And how can we be with those who need comfort? So I really hope that today, as we start the service, we can think about how are we partners with God in creating the world we want to see, while continuing the gratitude to God for sustaining life as it is. And with that, I'll hand it off to Phil.
Good Yontiv, everyone. Welcome back. And we'll begin on page 84. Please feel free to rise as you feel able, as the Spirit moves you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lezechri bina להבחין בין יום ובין לילה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בצלמו. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בן חורין. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם פוקח עברים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מלביש ערומים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מתיר אסורים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם זוקף כפופים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם רוקע הארץ על המים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשה לי כל צורכי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר הכין מצעדי גבר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוזר ישראל בגבורה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוטר ישראל בתפארה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם הנותן ליעף כוח.
And now I'll be singing the nigun that I started. It's called the Tu B'Shvat Nigun. It's by Batya Levine, who's wonderful and previously local composer. And part of the reason I picked it is A, I love it, and B, I think in Judaism we have so many New Years. So and for me, this nigun really sort of, the way it repeats feels like the renewal that I seek. And in this case, it's for renewal of the trees, but I'm pulling it for this new year, for Rosh Hashanah instead of Tu B'Shvat. Hi, 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 anano. Hi, hi, anano. Yadid hi, yadai, 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 hi, 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 yo. Hi, hi, anano. Hi, hi, anano. Yadid hi, yadai, 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 hi, yo. Hi, hi, anano. Hi, hi, anano. Yadid hi, yadai, yadai, hi, yo. Hi, hi, anano. Hi, hi, anano. Hi, anano. Shana Tova.
Beautiful. We're now on page 94. 4 lines from the top of this adaptation of Psalm 27 are the words that we've prayed for the past 18 months. 18, the number of chai, or life, that we might dwell in the house of God. And now, well, we're not quite there yet. But as Jews, we're always observing our surroundings and we're always learning. And what have we learned for the past 18 months while we've been praying to dwell in the house of God? That we are always dwelling in the house of God, because that house is all around us, wherever we are, wherever we let God in. It hasn't been just about Zoom, although that's been critical to bringing us together. It's about each of us realizing that we need to let God in, that we are the house of God.
Mr. Goa.
Achad she'alti met Adonai otav akesh. Achad she'alti met Adonai otav akesh.